You are not respected because you live like any ordinary man. You walk, talk, and act like everyone else, expecting respect to fall from the sky like charity. But respect is never given. It is earned. The Templars knew this. They were feared and honored not for fine clothes or empty speeches, but for their cold discipline, their unshakable honor, and the steel in their gaze. They asked for nothing. They imposed their presence. The respect they received came from blood spilled in training, from the hardness of their choices and the clarity of their purpose. And you? How long will you settle for being just another face in the crowd? Today, people confuse respect with cheap applause, social media likes, and the illusion of popularity. They think being noticed is the same as being respected. But that is the greatest lie of our age. The Templars never chased approval. They needed no applause, only the certainty that their discipline and loyalty were beyond question. Respect did not come from fake smiles, but from the heavy silence that fell when they entered a room. You, on the other hand, spend your days trying to please everyone, explaining yourself, justifying yourself, living as a slave to the opinion of others. Meanwhile, your life slips through your fingers. The respect you crave will never be born from such weakness. No man can demand respect if he cannot master his own body. The Templars understood this absolute truth. They trusted not in words, but in the evidence of muscles forged in training, endurance built through battles and fasting, and the upright posture that spoke louder than any speech. The body was the first fortress, the wall that declared discipline before a single word was spoken. Look around you. Most modern men surrender to weakness. They stay up late, eat as slaves to immediate pleasure, train one day and quit the next. They search for shortcuts, excuses, justifications. They do not see that every extra pound, every slouched shoulder, every dull gaze is a public confession that they do not rule over themselves. And a man who cannot govern himself will never inspire respect. The Templars trained every day, not for vanity, but for survival. They carried heavy armor, rode for miles, endured exhausting marches. They knew that physical discipline was more than strength. It was a mark of character. A trained body did not just show vigor, it commanded seriousness. It was impossible not to respect a man whose very presence reminded you that he was always ready to endure. Here lies the lesson for you. If you want respect, begin with the body. Wake up early, abandon the vices that weaken you, impose rhythm on your day. Respect does not begin when you open your mouth, but when you walk into a room and your posture declares that you are not like the rest. Your steady breath, your squared shoulders, your unwavering gaze, all of this speaks louder than any speech. The whole world reads your body before it hears your voice. The body is the wall, but the mind is the commander. Muscles mean nothing if the mind is corrupted by distraction and weakness. The Templars were feared because their minds were as sharp as their swords. They knew that true power is born of clarity and inner firmness. They refused to be ruled by luxuries, addictions, or foolish passions. The man who chases gold, who lives for pleasure, or who craves acceptance becomes a slave, and a slave will never be respected. We live in an age where the mind is constantly diluted. Every notification, every wave of entertainment, every empty indulgence steals mental strength. Men who cannot sit in silence for 5 minutes demand respect, but they are nothing more than puppets pulled by everything around them. The Templar, by contrast, cultivated austerity, fasting from words, fasting from distractions, fasting from vanity. His mind was not consumed with the lives of others, but anchored in his purpose. Respect is not merely physical strength. It is the aura of firmness that radiates from a man who cannot be bought, corrupted, or lost in trivialities. It is the gaze of one who carries principles and upholds them even when no one is watching. The austere man does not need to raise his voice. His silence weighs heavier than 1,000 shouts. And you? How much time do you waste feeding your mind with trash? How many minutes of your day are handed over to distractions that add nothing? Respect demands clarity of mind, and clarity is only born from the discipline of rejecting the superfluous. A true man does not drown in excess. He cuts it away. He does not hoard. He selects. He does not scatter. He focuses. Like the Templars, you must learn to live with less in order to become more. The discipline of the body commands respect. The austerity of the mind builds authority, but it is the code of honor that separates common men from memorable ones. The Templars knew that a sword without a word was nothing but iron. They were feared because their word was law, and their honor non-negotiable. A Templar could lose everything, wealth, land, even his life, but he would never surrender his word. That made him more dangerous and more respected than any weapon. The man who lies, who makes promises and breaks them, who says one thing today and undoes it tomorrow, digs his own grave of contempt. No one trusts a man of many words and few actions. No one respects one who flees from commitments. Respect is born of consistency, when your mouth declares and your actions confirm, when your deeds, even in silence, speak louder than your speeches. In today's society, people sell themselves cheaply, breaking agreements for convenience, shifting opinions to please, caving under pressure to avoid rejection. The result is predictable. No one respects them. They are like leaves blown by the wind. Respect demands firmness, and firmness is the fruit of a code of honor that cannot be negotiated. The Templar knew that every act, no matter how small, carried his signature. And you? What signature does your life leave before others? Do your commitments hold weight, or do your words vanish into thin air? If you desire respect, you must live in such a way that your word is more solid than stone. Honor is the invisible foundation that upholds your reputation. Without it, nothing stands. The fourth pillar of Templar philosophy was silence, not the silence of cowardice, but the silence that is strategic, heavy, deliberate. The man who talks too much exposes his weaknesses, reveals his plans, and cheapens his presence. The Templar understood that every word must carry weight, every phrase must have necessity. He never begged for attention. His strength was felt in the space between his words. We live in a time when everyone wants to be heard at any cost. Every opinion is thrown out like a worthless coin. Every thought must be posted, every secret traded for seconds of attention. And in the end, the more they speak, the less they are taken seriously. Excessive talk is the signature of weakness. Silence, on the other hand, is the mark of a man who carries authority. A man who knows how to remain silent, who does not need to justify himself at every moment, who can endure the discomfort of silence without rushing to fill it, this man is respected. For the absence of words reveals the presence of control. Respect is born when you prove that you are not driven by impulse, that you can watch, listen, think, and choose the right moment to act. The Templars did not need to explain themselves. Their presence spoke for them. And you, how many times have you spoken more than you should, trying to convince, trying to prove yourself? Respect does not grow out of endless justifications, but out of firm actions and scarce words. Be the man who speaks little and does much. Be the man whose silence unsettles more than the speeches of many. You don't need to live in the 12th century to apply Templar philosophy. Respect, then and now, grows from the same roots: discipline, austerity, honor, and silence, translated into your life. Discipline of the body. Build a training routine, sleep early, eat with intention. Let your body become the visible proof of your strength. Austerity of the mind. Cut distractions, master your impulses, focus on learning and sharpening clarity of thought. Code of honor. Let your word be your sword. If you promise, keep it. If you speak, stand by it. Be trustworthy in every detail. Strategic silence. Don't waste energy trying to convince everyone. Speak less, show more. Respect is never begged for. You become rare, distinct, and set apart from the crowd when you act by firm principles. This transformation begins today, in the small choices that reveal whether you are just another ordinary man or someone who cannot be ignored. Respect is not requested, it is imposed. The Templars understood this, and they lived in such a way that their very existence could not be overlooked. They are remembered not because they sought acceptance, but because they chose the narrow path of discipline, austerity, honor, and silence. The modern world cries out for men who will not bow to comfort, who will not sell themselves for cheap approval, who will not betray their own word. Before you stands the choice to live like anyone else, unseen, fragile, forgotten, or to carry the mark of those who are respected because they dared to stand firm when everyone else bent. There is no middle ground. Either you rise as a man worthy of respect, or you remain just another name lost in the crowd. The decision is yours.